Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes. Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast live show. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt. Santoki's out and about tonight, but you know who's with me? It's the one and only Dino. Dino, how you doing?
Yo, I'm good, man. Pleasure to be here as always. Looking forward to the fans' interactions, and I experienced the first press conference in a long time today, and boy, I am exhilarated by the experience.
You know what, people? So all morning I'd been thinking, should we do a live today? Should we do a live? And there'd been so much chat because basically what happened, and this is obviously thank you for everyone who's live. You know the drill by now. Press like, tell your friends, anyone who'd be interested, let them know we're live, tell them to come jump in the comments, etc. But basically yesterday I was at a wedding, the evening reception, and the squad dropped when I was on the way to the wedding. So I didn't even have time to really react to it. And I didn't have time. Santoki did all the reaction on Twitter, etc., etc. And it was only this morning that I properly went through the squad. And Dino, when I properly started to deep the squad, that's when I started to ask myself some questions. And so as I was asking myself some questions this morning, I said, you know what? I've got to drop a live. I've got to drop a live today, just reflected on this squad. Because for me, Dino, there's a lot of questions. Don't get me wrong, there's some positives in there. There's some good things that have been done. But I also think there's a lot of questions. And I just feel that a lot of people are so happy to see, like, girls out. I'm not saying that's my personal view. I'm just saying a lot of people seem so happy to see, like, the olders out. So what, Gale, Simmons, Rampole, and whoever else that Bravo obviously has gone as well, right? So I think some people have been so enamored by the fact that there's a new set of youngsters in Drake's, Dean Smith, for example. Justine Greaves is another. We're going across the two squads here that I'm not sure enough people have taken time to actually look at the proper composition of the squad. And I think if people stopped and looked at the squad, they'd find that there's some questions to be had about the makeup of the squad. So this episode isn't about trying to bash anybody. It's not about trying to say the selectors have got it wrong or they've got it right. It's just about looking at it analytically and critiquing it and saying, well, what are the positives? What are the negatives of this squad selection? Where are the questions that should rightly be asked? And as Dino just alluded to at the top of the show, both myself and Dino were just in the press conference with Jimmy Adams and Roger Harper. Ian Bishop was in there. There were a lot of people in there. When we were in there, just kind of taking it in and answering. I mean, I certainly asked the question, which I'll get to later on, but just taking it in and seeing what was the rationale that was going to be used by Roger in particular as chairman of selectors. And I want people to just understand as well, Roger isn't the sole selector. I think sometimes Roger gets the stick because he's the chairman of selectors, but it is actually 3 or 4 people in the unit that actually select the squad. So sometimes I think people put all of their anger towards Roger like it's just on him. But anyways, Roger was there front in, and Jimmy obviously is director of cricket. So yeah, Contact said what, Ian Bishop was there. Yeah, Ian was there. He didn't talk, but he was there because at the end, and I was glad to see Ian there, because at the end of the day, if you're going to go and commentate on air, I think you need to have the facts behind you. And actually, Dino, do you remember that when we were in there, I sent you a private message just saying, why aren't there more people in here? Because my whole thing is this. If you're going to, whether you're going to cuss out, whether you're going to support, whatever it is you're going to do, my whole thing is at least have the facts. At least have the facts before you start the cuss. At least know that you know what you were there to hear what people said before you then start coming with your analysis and the cuss out. And I think that's ultimately what we try to do as a Caribbean Cricket Podcast is say, this is what we heard. And now this is our analysis of the particular situation. So if Ian now goes on air the next time West Indies play and say, well, you know what? I was in the press conference and Roger Harper said, then good, because it's important that the real facts are out there. But anyways, Dino, massive long intro there from me so people could just kind of get a grip as to what we're going to be doing today. But snapshot, Dino, don't go into any specifics, just snapshot. When you saw the two squads, the ODI and the T20 squad, what was your initial snapshot take on it?
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, like you, I saw it before, but I didn't really let it sink in. You know, I was busy doing other stuff, and then I really took it in today to look at the composition. At first, during that time at the snapshot, I was like, okay, this seems all right. It's just a bunch of guys that we know already, or young guys coming in. That was just the snapshot. It was like, all right, it seems all right. No big surprises. And then when you really look at it and the composition, it comes down to, for me personally, an easy way for me to break it down is, who are your top three batsmen in both teams? Who are your cemented top three? And the bowlers, who are your frontline bowlers in terms of pace and spin, and the rest of the team sorts itself out from there. That's just how I look at it.
Indeed, and there's a lot of comments already in the chat, so it's hard because it's weird to know how to begin this one, but I do want to just address some initial comments that I've seen, and then we'll get to it later on. So first things first, from Sports Breakdown, big up the people at Sports Breakdown. Hetmeyer is out for personal reasons. I don't want to air Hetmeyer's business because I actually don't know what the personal reasons are, but I've been led to believe, I know his wife is pregnant, so I'm not saying that's the reason, but I'm just wondering if that's what it's about, and all the best for her and him, etc., if that is the reason. So, and remember, at the end of the day, personal reasons are personal, says the guy who just said his wife's pregnant. But the point is, personal is personal. So actually, whatever the reason is, he don't need to tell nobody. So his is personal, Russell's is personal, Evan Lewis is personal. Who's the fourth person? No, I think it was those three. And then Jason Holder is out for workload reasons, which I understand, because Jason, I think, has gone back to back to back to back, and will be needed in the new year for the T20s versus England, the Test Series versus England, etc. So I kind of get why they might have said to Jason, you know what, rest this one out. Although I personally would have rested him from the T20 stuff and said come for the ODIs because points matter in the Super League. But it is what it is. Jason has been rested for that. And also there was another point. Yes, Kinar Lewis failed a fitness test. Shafane Rutherford has failed a fitness test. Now, let's start there, actually, Dino. I think it's probably the best place to start with, without even looking at the team. Jimmy Adams, director of cricket, was in the press conference, and Jimmy said that there is a 6 month window in which players have to take a fitness test, which is what I knew and understood it to be as well. Now, my understanding was always this, and if I'm wrong, then I will go and find out more information and correct myself the next time I'm live. But this is what I'd always been led to believe. Players take a test in January and they take a test in July. That's what I've been led to believe. And it's a 6 month window in which you have to prove your fitness. When the World Cup selection came, my take on it and assumption, this isn't facts, it's my assumption, was that Rutherford, Kinar Lewis, and all that lot either had failed a fitness test with their franchise. So in Kinar's case, that would be like Jamaica Scorpions, and Rutherford, it would be Guyana Jaguars. They'd either failed a fitness test with their franchise, which then gets reported back to Cricket West Indies, because none of them would have been in Cricket West Indies teams, in West Indies international teams. So they wouldn't be taking a test in the international stage. It's based on what happens with your franchise, right? And that gets fed back to Cricket West Indies. So they either failed or they just didn't present themselves to take one. I don't know which one it is, but it's got to be one of those two. So those two are out because Jimmy said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dino, we were both there. Jimmy said in the 6 month window provided, they have not met the requirements needed on a fitness level to make the team. So my thing is this. Anybody who's saying then in the chat, Kinar should be in there, Rutherford should be in there, it's actually a moot point, because if that's the requirements and they haven't done it, oh well. They can't be in the team, and that's the end of that. The bigger question people should ask is, so what actually happened? But nobody seems to actually know what's actually happened. I'm giving you my opinion on what's happened, but I don't know for a fact what actually took place. Did Shafane Rutherford ever present himself to the Guyana Jaguars franchise and take a fitness test? And if he did and he failed, then more shame him and more fool him. But did he even do that? Nobody's really clearing up what actually took place. Dino.
Yeah, man, you really looked into it there in terms of that fitness criteria, right? Another question. It just seems that like when you try to clarify these things, it just seems to be asking more questions because you say, okay, it's 6 months, or this is the way it goes, and then you look back and you say, well, if this is the case, why has this happened and this happened during that time that you say that is 6 months? So Odin Smith doesn't go to a World Cup because he's failed the fitness test. Now the World Cup is over and he's fit again for selection for the West Indies T20 team. Has that been 6 months? I need a little bit of clarity in that. That's what we're asking for, just a little bit of clarity in that specifically, and maybe on Ken R. Lewis specifically. It comes out after the fact that he was probably not even in contention due to fitness for the World Cup. And then all kinds of questions about, can you get fitness tested with the franchise you're with, and does that information get fed back? So I wouldn't go into all of that. At the end of the day, they haven't met the criteria. If the guys felt that they were wronged in any way, maybe we would hear some sort of thing from their end. We haven't heard anything on them. So this seems to be a choice on both ends by both parties. So we don't feel anyone is aggrieved, but going forward, we want to know what's going to happen.
Dino, I love that you just said that. And there's a couple of comments I want to kind of come to on that. First, from Thomas Miller. So Thomas, big up Tom, by the way. If it is Tom who I'm thinking it is, the graphics that we do, like the GIFs that is it GIFs? I don't even know because I'm not tech savvy, people. I apologize. But the thumbnails, that's the word. The thumbnails that we use for our stuff on like our socials, that's all from Tom. So big up Tom. He provides those thumbnails, respect due. But Tom says they need to communicate with these players in regards specifically to what to do, fitness, and that they're right. So Tom, this is what Jimmy did say. So this is one thing I have to rate Jimmy for in the conference. Jimmy did say, and I felt like Jimmy was holding his hands up and saying, listen, we understand that he didn't call names, but he basically was intimating Shafane Rutherford, Chandrapal Hemraj, etc. He was saying, we need to sit with these players and say, what is the issue? Now, that wasn't him digging out the players, but if anything, if he's going to put blame on anyone, they was putting blame on Cricket West Indies and saying, we need to sit with them and work out, how do we get you lot into this team where things like fitness criteria aren't impeding you? What I wanted to say, and I didn't say in the conference, is I said, please have that conversation with Nicholas Pooran and Shimron Hetmeyer re Test cricket as well. That's what I wanted to say when Jimmy was saying that, but it wasn't. The press conference wasn't about Test cricket, so I felt it was inappropriate to kind of jump in on that stage. But Jimmy did say we need to sit with these players and identify, say to them, we want you to play for West Indies, but come on, like, what's the deal here? And that's why when Dino said, if it was as simple as Cricket West Indies were blackballing these players, Chandrapal Hemraj would have spoken out by now. You would have thought. Rutherford would have spoken out. Something would have come out by now to say, you know what, I took that test and they're lying when they said that I failed that test. But if my thing is, there has to be truth on both sides. If you see what I mean. So, Dino, I don't know where you stand on it, but my thing is, I look at the players now and say, but come on. You're professionals, What type of joke thing is this? You're professional cricketers. It's your job. What do you mean that I can go into a press conference and a man can tell me that you didn't meet fitness requirements? That's, Dino, I'm sorry. Whether we agree with the fitness requirements as criteria for selection for West Indies or not, those things are basics. They're basics. The one thing every single player can take care of is fitness. Then we can talk about talent and execution of this, that, and the other. But fitness, when is the part, Dino, that we start looking at the players and saying, what are you actually doing now?
Yeah, I listen. I'm hearing what you're saying. On the fitness thing, the only way out that you're saying on this is if they just didn't take the test whatsoever. That's the only way out that you're seeing on this, right? Some guys may, for whatever reason, have refused the test, and again, we don't have that information, right? So again, there's no denying it. If you can't meet the fitness test, and everyone knows it, the players know the system. There's been no complaints about the system, so it's pretty straightforward to me, you know. And from what I've heard of the fitness test, it's not even the most rigorous one out there. Right? So, you know, it's not like we have a case to say we're pushing the players or asking too much of them, you know. So it doesn't raise any red flags for me, to be honest. And fitness criteria seem to be pretty transparent.
Dino, big up Shakar, by the way. I'm glad you could make it. We were just talking on Facebook. I'm so glad to see that you could jump in on a live. But Shakar says, Dino, as someone into cricket analytics, this is specifically for you and coaching. Is the sport cricket adopting the most appropriate metrics in evaluating fitness relevant to the context of fitness relating to the sport? Boy, you answer that because I can't answer that.
But that's why they have with teams trainers, specialist trainers, and specialist strength and conditioning coaches, right? Physiotherapists. So those are three guys on like the medical staff of three roles that an international team has or first class team should have. So when someone asks in a press conference, why isn't what the top level team has, the senior team, doesn't the other teams have that and hold those standards? That's a genuine question, and that's how you hold those standards. You have to have proper experience, strength and conditioning coaches, trainers, and physios with teams to monitor the guys and have them on programs. So some guys grow up in an environment where they are more physically active than other guys. Some guys need to be pushed and some guys just need to be directed when it comes to fitness. In the Caribbean, we generally don't have a problem with natural fitness and guys coming in with fitness. They just need to be guided. And that's really a problem. And that's really, I feel like I'm explaining the press conference again, like we're breaking it down into this. I feel like that's what Jimmy should have said in the press conference because that's the reality.
And the thing is, I'm going to use the example. So this is a bigger point that I think we possibly, maybe this isn't the podcast show for this particular point, and maybe we need to do a separate one for it. But, and again, Jimmy kind of intimated at this, the standards are not uniform around the region. And for me, that's one of the problems. So I would love to know what Kanar Lewis experiences as a Jamaican professional cricketer in terms of taking care of himself and what the Scorpions do in terms of strength and conditioning, and particularly in the out season, how much responsibility is on the player? How professional is the first class structure? Because what I'm trying to say is, and a county cricketer over here in England, right? You think in the off season he can just completely let himself go and come back and he's complete. I mean, yeah, some will say they can, but they're completely out of shape and nobody's given them a plan to. Now, surely in the Caribbean, as part of the franchise, that was the whole point in the creation of the Professional Cricket League, to make 100+ players in the Caribbean are cricket professionals, right? And I think one thing Jimmy said, somebody asked him, one of the journalists said to him, but why are our standards so low? And Jimmy was actually saying, yeah, it's ridiculous, right? But how uniform are the standards? Is what happens in Jamaica the same as what happens in Guyana? Is what happens in Guyana the same as what happens in Windward Islands? Is what happens there? Do you see what I mean, Dino? And I look at the example of someone like Josh Da Silva, and I always remember that I can't remember when Josh said it, but Josh basically intimated to us that when he got to international level, he realized he weren't fit. He realized that what was required for international level fitness was not what he had been doing. He wasn't digging anyone out. I'm not saying that to mean that Josh was digging out the people at Queen's Park or digging out Red Force as a franchise or whatever. He was just saying when he got to international level, he realized he had to up his levels in terms of fitness. Now, what that says to me, Dino, is what's actually going on, though, at the regional level. For somebody shouldn't be getting to international stage. You think an England cricketer, just use England, or Australian cricketer can get to international stage and go, oh, I'm not actually fit. This is mad, you know. What do you reckon, Dino?
Yeah, I would compare it to, let's say, a good system, which is like the Jamaica track and field system, which is one of the best in the world. It's like I say, no one's going to come through that system unfit, all right, because it's a properly structured system. And that's what we're lacking in each territory, structured systems like that. It's only since the professional league has come on that we've seen contracts being tied to fitness now. It's very new in terms of professional cricket in the West Indies. But it's fair, and it will be interesting to see where else the success cases are with performance tied to salary, right? I would challenge anyone out there, especially journalists and these people who ask for high performance. If we tied your performance to your salary, what would you be paid? Less or more, right? So this is the world of a professional cricketer. That's one thing I would say. Yeah, their entire performance is public, and their failures are public. And some people bounce back from failures, some people don't do it. But in terms of fitness, it's clear cut, Marshall, and I think you're really on point with where you're directing it.
Big up Demo, by the way. Love to see you in the chat, Demo, my guy. Demo on his channels. Demo, drop your apps and stuff in the chat so I can put up for people to go follow you. But Demo said he interviewed John Campbell and asked him about the fitness test. And Demo's clarifying what you said, Dino, that it's not hard to pass. These are basics. These are basics. Asking these players to pass. So, yeah, again, I think we just need to think about when people are like quick to rush and cut out Cricket West Indies. I think we just have to be wary of the fact that we're not asking a lot of these players right now. Dino's dogs are upset with the fitness as well,
There's some dogs. It's sunset now, and the other dogs are in the road. So this is what's happening. They're being visited. Yeah.
Yes. Demo says it's a yo-yo test. So again, for those who aren't in the Caribbean, because it's got different names. Right. So for those who are in the UK, we would call it a bleep test. And we used to do it, or we used to do it in school, where you'd have to you hear the bleep, you run to one end of the hall and run the other end. I can't remember. I think the West Indies, you have to get 40 on it, whatever that means in terms of metrics. Okay. And for all of us who have done that test before, okay, we can all think of what level we got in school if you've done that test before. But if you're an international athlete, you're not supposed to be struggling on a test. You're really not supposed to be struggling on that test as a professional international athlete. Sorry, 1 second, Dina. Yeah, big up Sachin. I see it. You're not even making a comment, but big up for the support. Love that, and thank you. You're always in the ats on Insta. Love the commentary, etc. But let's get into it now, Dino. See, Tom knows. Tom's in the UK. He knows about the bleep test. We did all that stuff in school. But where are we? What I wanted to share, people, bear with me. I'm going to just share my screen. Hopefully this works. Dino and I tried this beforehand. So hopefully you can all see my screen at the moment, which actually has the ODI squad on the screen. So we're going to deal with the ODI squad first and foremost. So the official ODI squad, Pollard as captain, Hope as vice captain, obviously standard. Bravo, Brooks, Chase, Greaves, Hussain, Joseph, Moti, Anderson Phillip, Puran, Raman Reefer, Romario, Odin, and Hayden Walsh Jr. Let's deal with the ODI squad first, Dino. So obviously the big gaps there is Evan Lewis at the top, Shimron Hetmeyer, Jason Mohammed's gone, as expected. So Evan Lewis at the top, Shimron Hetmeyer would have been 3 or 4 or whatever it might be. Jason Holder obviously would have been in there somewhere if he was available as well. So there's a gap at the top in terms of who is going to open with Shai Hope. And when you look at that list, I assume it's going to be Justin Greaves, but I have question marks about that. Not about Justin Greaves as a player, but I'm just, okay, I assume it's going to be Justin Greaves. And then Hetmeyer's place in the middle order appears to have been filled by Shamar Brooks. And then Moti, I don't even know who Moti's come into the squad to replace, but Moti's there, and Moti's there on merit, in fairness. But I'll get Dino's views on that in a moment. But then some other question marks on me. Romario Shepherd is in there, and I'm not sure. Romario Shepherd's in there, and Odin Smith's in there, and I'm not sure what they have done to merit being in there. Because if we are saying that CPL, because when you lot were all calling for Shepherd and Odin Smith, you're calling for them in the T20 side, and rightly so because of what you'd seen them do in CPL, right? And now you're seeing some stuff happening in T10, etc. But when Super 50 happened at the top of this year in February, These two weren't doing nothing in Super 50. So I don't understand how Shepherd and Smith got in on the ODI side. Now, Dino, again, we make reference to the press conference. You heard the question I asked Roger Harper. I said to Roger Harper, so what? I said, did financial logistics come into this in terms of picking the squad? Because to me, I can't find any statistical understanding as to why Shepherd and Smith would have got in an ODI side with no ODI numbers to back them up. In fact, if I remember rightly, Romario Shepherd went for 100 runs in the Super 50 earlier this year. I can't remember, probably Trinidad. Well, I can't remember which team destroyed him, but someone destroyed him, and he went like 1 for 100 in 10 overs or something stupid, right? So I don't know where the statistical evidence has come from to justify them both being in the ODI squad. Odean weren't on nothing for Jamaica, really and truly. So is it that they've looked at their T20 performances and said, well, you might as well just jump into ODI because surely you can replicate what you've done at the T20 level in the ODI squad, which I don't mind, but say that. Say that then. Just say that and fine. At least that's some kind of reasoning. But to just have them there and not explain how they got into that squad with no stats to support it, it just raises some questions for me. And I'm surprised that when I'm looking in the media, nobody's asking those questions. Everyone's just taking it like that's normal. But I'm looking at going, but how? How is nobody raising any issues about it? So let's delve into the ODI squad first and foremost. Dino, what stood out for you? What shocked you, etc., etc.?
Wow, man. And you were really on point with everything you've said there regarding the ODI squad, meaning no one asked the questions about these picks. You know, there were some picks that exactly that, Odean and Shepherd. How do they get into the squad? I would have, right, I don't want to say where I would have gone on. What stood out for me is, like I said at the start, and I say with every team, the 1, 2, 3 should be capable opening batsmen. You should have 3 capable opening batsmen in every team that starts at 1, 2, 3, and arguably your best batsman at 4. That's usually how teams set up, right? In this case, we don't even have 2 really clear defined opening 2 guys. That's not even really clearly defined. Is it Hope and Graves? Is that what it's going to be? And then who, if something happens, who's the next opener? Or if someone gets out on the first ball, who has to then open the inning then? You know, this is the case for 3 opening batsmen. And that on both teams, but with the ODI specifically, I don't see that guy at 3. That means Darren Bravo at 3 or Shamar Brooks at 3 is end up going to be like an opening batsman, right? If someone gets out early. So that's why I say that's what stood out for me. 3 opening batsmen in a team. Even if you just play 2, one has to be on the bench or whatever the case is, you need 3. In the same way, you need backup pacers. And then on the ODI team, again, the wicket keeper. All right. Puran, okay, Hope is the backup, fine. And ODI, I'll live with that, fine. Let's go to the pacers now. You're saying that Shepherd, Phillip, and Alzari Joseph are going to lead the line here with Odean Smith and Raymond Rifa. That's your pace attack, right? It doesn't scream experience to me. It doesn't scream the extremely threatening pace to me, but very good young bowling lineup. But who's guiding that lineup like a Kemar Roach type? You know, it would have been good to have one experiencing guy, but it's good to see that lineup. And then the spinners, Hussein and Moti, two guys who do the same thing. Hussein with a lot more experience internationally would get the edge. So you're saying Chase is the off spinner on the team. So now Chase is the genuine bowling or batting all rounder, I guess, off spinner. Would have liked to see considerations for Sinclair. I would have liked to see Dominic Drakes on this team actually instead of Raymond Rifa. No disrespect to Raymond on that one. I would have liked to see Drakes then if you're going with all these young pacers. Maybe they're saying Raymond is the left-hander in the team to lead that ODI pace unit in terms of experience. Maybe that's what they're saying. But I would have liked to see Drakes there in place of Odean Smith for sure. In the 50-over team, 100%, I'm saying that openly. Drake should have been there for Odean Smith in the ODI team. Can Odean Smith bowl 10 overs in an ODI right now? We just talk about fitness. Let's not revisit that, right? But that's where I'm at. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. Maybe I forgot one or two guys. I left the middle order out because I kind of squeezed it in from top to bottom, if you understand how I approached it there, Marshall.
Boy, do you know what? I hadn't even considered that question you just said. Can Dean Smith bowl 10 good overs in an ODI? And this is why I go back to the Super 50, because Dean is a bowling all-rounder. He's not a batting all-rounder, right? And in Super 50, because again, I always say it's important to have the stats to support any argument you're going to come with, right? In Super 50, Dean Smith, I just had it in front of me, so I need to go. He's so far down the list, I have to search. So Dean Smith played 4 matches for Jamaica Scorpions, right, in the Super 50. He bowled a total of, across those 4 matches, 22 overs, right? So you're looking at less than 6 overs per match. He took 3 wickets at 45. So, and I'm Jamaican, and I'm looking at it going, so how did he get in the squad? I don't know how my man got in the squad. I don't know how. I don't know what the justification was. And if it's just purely about people have seen what he's been doing in CPL and they've looked at it and gone, his upside is so good. He was training with the World Cup team. I hear all that, but I still don't see the justification. And if you then pick Dean Smith in your ODI team to play Pakistan, are you really saying you think you can get more than 5 to 6 good overs? Listen, and it's not just about Dean Smith, because actually, let me stick it on you a bit, Dino, and say Anderson Phillip, young pacer out of Trinidad. But here's my thing with Anderson Phillip. He's got potential. I'm not doubting that. He's got potential, but where he's at in his development right now, for me, Dino, I'm not convinced that Anderson's ready for international cricket yet in terms of his... And before anyone says it in the chat, you can't be ready unless you get the opportunity, right? So I hear that. But where I see Anderson Phillip is, he's in that kind of, yes, you've excelled at regional level, but when I've seen him in the little bits I've seen him at international level, he's not ready. And he's getting licked as well. Like, even at regional level, he goes for runs. Probably because he can't control his pace yet. His control is probably not. But you've seen him firsthand more than likely. Anything you want to say on Anderson Phillip?
Yeah, Phillip is a guy that before the emergence of Seals was kind of earmarked as like, this guy's fast. He's a trainee and he's fast, so that's rare, right? So can we get the most out of him? Can we get this guy some control, teach him how to set up batsmen, that sort of thing? And so he's come through the Trinidad ranks and he's played, I believe he's played every format, right? He's got a decent run with TKR. I know he's played some, probably a full 4-day season, if not 2. So the question is, I'm not too sure about his list A stuff, right? How often, like, you just checked Dean Smith's stats. It's not, like you say, he's not bowling more than 5-6 overs a game. So he's an all-rounder. Phillip is a clear fast bowler with some pace, and he's come through the system and he's been developing. In ODI cricket specifically, I haven't seen him. Actually, I have seen him death bowling and that sort of thing. So he's been developing. I think he's a guy that deserves a chance, honestly. He's one of these young guys that could come through. His pace is up. He's fit. And I think he can, like in the like of a Keon Harding, who may have had a shout then at this team. That's the like for like matchup that may have happened there. So it's about where they're physically at right now, I guess. And then it comes back to fitness again. But it's surprising Dean Smith there. Phillip, I think, deserves a chance. Harding's name would be up there if I think about other pacers. But I would have liked to see Drake's in that 50-over team, actually.
There's a couple of comments I want to just bring up. Contact says Phillip is a good bowler. Yeah, I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying that I don't know how ready he is for the international stage yet. But then, as I said, you won't know how ready someone is until you give them that opportunity. So I guess this is going to be Anderson's, because looking at that team, I have him earmarked to start in that team unless they're saying that Romario Shepherd takes the new ball with Alzari Joseph, but we shall see. Actually, and this is a good point from Shakar. If you do play Dean, you play him in a Russell role, and I understand that actually, I don't know if his batting's good enough necessarily to bat at 7 in international cricket. But if that's the role you want to groom him for, yes, I get that. And then you're only requiring him to be like a gap fill bowler, as and when. But like I say, Old Dean's got a good upside. I just don't think there was a justification to have him in the ODI squad specifically. Also, who is this? Yeah, Contact. Yeah, he did score 50 in Super 50, but yeah, that was it. Like he scored 150 and then obviously accumulation of 20s and this, that, and the other. Hit a couple of late order 6s and stuff. But this is the thing I always say when you pick a player, what's their primary suit? So Oldeen's primary suit isn't to score. Okay, yes, he can score runs, but it's like Romario Shepherd. Romario Shepherd's primary suit is bowling. Dean Smith's primary suit is bowling. So I don't want to see what they're doing with the bat if they're not fulfilling what they're supposed to do in their primary suit first and foremost. Another player, though, that I'd like you to just quickly talk on, though, Dino, is Justin Greaves. Because, again, we spoke about this when you were on the live a few days ago. Just like Josh De Silva, I think Justin Greaves was one of the standout players in the emerging players side that won Super 50 2 years ago. And he was all right, actually. He was good for Barbados in the Super 50 we just had in 2021. When I think he played all the matches and when got an average of like 37, his strike rate was low. But the point is, he's got talent, obviously. What do you think about Justin Greaves, Dino?
Just clarify for me, Marshall. Did he open the batting in the last Super 50?
Yeah, for Barbados, yeah, he was opening, right. which is why I assume he's going to open with hope.
Yeah, because he was always a middle order guy. In fact, he started off as a pacer that bats a bit, and then he stopped bowling pace, and then became a pure batsman. And then from middle order, now it's actually relatively new that he's opening the batting, right? So look, he's a guy I have a lot of respect for because I've seen what he did with that team in the emerging players. He's a true leader. He knows his game. He knows cricket, and he knows what is required at the top level. And I think is a good young guy with a good cricket brain that if guys they're looking for guys to open the batting and guys are not available, then he's a hand that goes up. I mean, statistically, this team was kind of thrown over on us, so we didn't really break down like statistically who were the best openers for the position. I definitely will do that though. I will have a look at it. But Greaves, for me, the concern is that he's probably been opening for 2 seasons for the most, if that. That's the thing. He's have a good Super 50, and that's why I say the concern for me is 1, 2, 3. Greaves has got to be up there. Greaves, Hope, and who else? Bravo or Brooks. And again, there's 2 openers there, or 1.5. That's the way I see it. That's the concern for me with Greaves. But I think good pick though. I think he's worth a shot.
Yeah, most definitely. I've got. I mean, if you're going to take someone, at least take someone who was showing something in Super 50. So I've got no real issue with that. He's just the next person off the rung. I'm intrigued to know if Bravo and Brooks are both getting in the team or if they're playing for the one spot. That's quite interesting. And actually, something I just want to raise before we look at the T20 squad is it's worth reminding people about Darren Bravo because everyone keeps looking at Darren Bravo and saying, how is he still there? So Darren Bravo did score a century earlier this year in the ODIs versus Sri Lanka. Didn't really get many returns in the games versus Australia. Can't remember if he played 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. But he's still got some coin in the tank, so to speak, because of that century in the ODIs versus Sri Lanka. But also, because Dino and I were talking about this earlier today, he has a white ball contract. So no players above a drop, but he also does have a white ball contract. So they kind of have to keep him around in that sense as well. So I think if he plays versus Pakistan and struggles, then he could well be in for a drop in 2022. But I've got nothing against Bravo being in the ODI squad. I just don't know if him and Brooks technically have the same spot. I really don't know, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, so that's essentially the ODI team. And then looking again, if I just share my screen one more time, people, looking again at the T20 side now. So the T20 side, obviously, we've just come off a World Cup where everybody cussed out everybody about everything, wanted everyone dropped, and you've all got your wish. So the T20 squad is as follows. Pollard captain, Puran vice captain. Bravo is there. Chase is there. Cottrell, Drakes, Hope, Hussein, King, Mayers, Multi, Shepherd, Smith, Thomas, Hayden Walsh Jr. So I got some issues with this T20 squad. There's a lot of players in this T20 squad where I'm like, okay, I need someone to explain something to me. So Bravo is there, and I get it. I totally get why people would have an issue with Bravo being there. I think he's there because he was the reserve in the World Cup. So if players have pulled out, obviously Lewis and Hetmeyer and Russell, I kind of get why Bravo automatically makes the squad. But I understand why people be saying, how is Bravo in there? Right? But I kind of get it. Cottrell's there. I have no problem with that. Left arm pacer. Obed McCoy's injured. So if you're going to go like for like, Cottrell should be there. Incidentally, I didn't mention it, but I don't know how Cottrell's not in the ODI team. But again, whatever. So Cottrell's there. That makes sense. Drake's is there. Everyone expected that. Shea Hope is there. I have no idea how. I have no idea how Shea Hope has got into the T20 squad. Literally none. I went and crunched my numbers. I went and looked at my stats. I tried to find the justification. Hope didn't even play in CPL. He was dropped by the Royals at some points in CPL. I can't find not one justification for Hope being in the T20 team. Unless it was like what I said to Roger Harper in the press conference, that he's just there because it's easier and you don't have to fly out another man. But Harper said that's not the case. Okay, but no one can give me any numbers to tell me why Hope is in the T20 squad. Hussein's there, Multi's there. Fine, Multi deserves to be there, but they're the same bowler. Surely they're not playing in the same team together. But anyways, whatever. But both deserve to be there. King is there. Now, again, this is what I tell you lot. You can never say bias when we do Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm a Jamaican. I don't know what King's doing there. What has King done to be there? I don't understand. The man has just flopped in CPL 2021. He flopped in CPL 2020. So what has Brandon done in the interim to get into the T20 squad? Unless there's no options. And he's a right-handed batsman and there's no options. But he has nothing that can justify why he's in the team. Literally nothing. Nothing, you know. And if there was a justification for him to be in the team, then Chris Gale would never have gone to the World Cup because he would have been in the World Cup squad. So what I want to understand, and I don't know if these questions are difficult questions to answer, what I want to understand is what changed since the World Cup that suddenly gets King back in the team? Because whatever it is that has changed, why was he not in the team then in the World Cup? I don't get it. I don't understand. Whatever. So King is there. Mayers, I totally understand. If anything, I would have had Mayers in the ODI squad as well, actually. But again, whatever. Who else is there? Shepherd and Dean Smith, we all expected that. And O'Shane Thomas is there. Someone messaged on our Twitter handle just before I came on air that O'Shane Thomas bowled 2 overs in T10 today and went for 50 runs. And all I could say in reply was, but who's surprised? That's all I could say in reply. So, O'Shane, I don't even know what to say about O'Shane. I pray O'Shane comes good. I pray O'Shane Thomas fully realizes his potential and comes good. But he's in the squad. He's got yet another opportunity. Dino, I've raised lots of issues there. Dive in, Dino.
You see, Marshall, you've covered everything there with asking the right questions of why is this guy in this role. The squad raises so many questions. Both squads of, it's almost like I thought it was a misprint, that they mixed up the squad somehow, right? But like you say, Kyle Myers is good enough to play in ODIs in that role that Raymond Reefer is in there. I would have thought that Kyle Myers would have been the guy to play that role directly. All right. Like you say, Brandon King, no form, but it was earmarked at one point, but no current form. So everyone who's calling for Hemraj might say, well, maybe I have a case with Hemraj. But again, who is going to open this? Who is this sure 1, 2, 3 in every game for this team? It's hard to say again. Is Shai Hope going to open the batting? Is that what's going to happen in T20? And you're asking how he gets in. he's got to be the backup wicketkeeper. That's the only way he gets in. How does he get into this team? I could only see them thinking, look, every team needs a backup keeper. So who is it going to be? And who are the keepers that are pushing for Puran's spot, right? So they're just saying, well, just put Hope in there. He's one of our best batsmen in other formats. So put him in there and just have him there as a backup, unless he's going to open the batting now. Who knows? There's so many questions that are not addressed. You know what I mean? We just have more and more questions. And you know, it's Sheldon Cottrell. Yes, I get it. He comes in for Obed, but Drake's is already there. So you know someone's gonna have to bench. And Akil and Moti again in another format. Is Moti just gonna be benched there? That's the matchups that you've created. Hayden Walsh Jr. is a bit surprising in T20s. To be honest, right now, I would have liked him to focus just on 50 over cricket and try to get his groove and consistency in bowling 10 overs. Is really what you want from a leg spinner in T20. Yes, I get it, but you know, I would have liked to see St. Clair there. O'Shane, I don't mind because you know he has to keep working on his game. He's that sort of guy that needs momentum and needs to get matches under his belt to keep going in one direction. So I get that with O'Shane. You keep sticking with him, and you have to, right? He's one of the fastest guys we have, right? So and we have to get the most out of him. And he's a threat. On a good day, he's a threat. We have to keep sticking with him. Even if it's just T20 format and he gets into the IPL again, which he should be, and he's dangerous enough to do that, I think that's what you do. The question is if Moti will play at all and how they plan to use Moti with Chase and Walsh. Darren Bravo is no surprise, like you said. And I know I kind of went through all the names there, but I just thought that, you know, with Odin Smith there and with Drake's there, I just think Cottrell, you know, and you have O'Shea in there. I think Cottrell, you know, is a bit surplus and maybe would have been better used in the ODI squad as the experienced pacer in the ODI squad. Maybe just to lead that charge because they'll have fan pacer there. So you know, it's a bit confusing. I would like you to look at both squads and say, well, why is this guy in the T20 and why is that guy in the ODI? It seems like you got it mixed up. And it seems like, well, some guys like Kyle Mayers should be in both. Or maybe Alzari Joseph should be in both. I think Alzari Joseph has a case to be in the T20 squad.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, you know, it really, really just raises more questions of us breaking it down now, you know, live. We're breaking it down live. I'm sure the fans have a lot of questions. But, you know, it's what it is going forward. What do we do? Like I say, no top three. And the bowling raises questions. The all-rounders may be in different positions. You know, it's a lot to take in. And even, like you said, it's been a couple days since the release and a press conference, and we still are not really clear what is the lineup and the direction of this team. Yes, a bunch of youngsters came in. Yes, I get it. It's good. Most of them are the picks that we wanted. But didn't you get the format wrong? I think. Didn't you mix it up? Come on, man! I'm just saying what I'm seeing in front of me.
So for the opening spots, when I first saw the squad, I just assumed we are going to open with King and Mayers. That's what I just assumed looking the first time. But now I'm like, maybe we're going to be opening with Hope and Mayers. Like but the problem is the fact that I can't even tell you who the openers are is actually the problem to begin with. I can't. Like, I don't even know if Mayers is going to open. I'm just assuming. I'm looking at the team going, well, who else is it going to be? And any team where you can look at it and go, well, I don't know what's going to go on. Like, that's a problem. That's a problem for me that I can't even tell you. King's the only one who's an opener for sure. And I can't even tell you if King's going to open. Like, that's an issue. There was another point that you made. I just want to look at the squad again to remind myself. I don't know. I look at that squad, right? And I read it again for those who may have only just jumped in live. Pollard, Puran, Bravo, Chase, Cottrell, Drakes, Hope, Hussain, King, Mayers, Moti, Shepherd, Smith, Thomas, Walsh Jr. I look at that squad and I basically say, boy, Pollard and Puran better come good. That's literally what I think when I look at that. Like, don't get me wrong, King could have a good 3 games, whatever it is. Mayers could have a good 3 games. Maybe Shepherd and Oldine Smith down the bottom can show that they can be good finishers. But you look at that squad, and the overarching thing I think is, but what if Pollard and Puran don't perform? And this is why when people were saying get these old people out, and particularly the people like get Pollard out as captain, all I kept thinking was, but what happens next if you remove Pollard as well? Because there's no experience. You look at that squad, there is no experience. And when I say experience, I mean proper T20 experience. In fact, I need to look at that squad one more time. Let me just deep this before I actually say what I'm going to say. Only 2 people in that squad can really claim to have played IPL. And I'm not saying IPL is the be-all and end-all, but what I am saying is if your T20 squad has only got 2 people in it that can really claim, okay, 3 if you count Cottrell's one season, but 2 people that can really claim to be, a top T20 league's going to take me, that's a bit of a problem. That's actually a big problem. And I don't think people were fully understanding when they were saying, just chuck out all of the senior players and bring in the next young guns. Yes, in principle, yes. But you see, if you start removing experience all at the same time, well, boy, now you see. But we wish them well. We wish them well. And I truly hope that come Pakistan, that every single one of them puts up an amazing performance and makes it hard. The best thing that could happen is they make it hard for Hetmeyer, Holder, Russell, and Lewis to come back in. That's the best thing that could happen. And this is why these young guns need to take the opportunity. They need to take the opportunity and say, well, you know what? We're here now. And this is like when I was saying about Chris Gale getting the T20 squad and saying he wouldn't have got in if King had taken his opportunity. This is what this is. These are the opportunities that we're talking about. Take them. Make it hard for Hetmeyer to get back in. Give the selectors a problem to just throw Dre Russ back into the side. Will they? Don't know. Do I hope they do? Yes. But we can't just say young guns for the sake of young guns. They do still have to perform. They do still have to show that it's worth investing in them. Nikhil, sorry, I saw your comments. I didn't realize, Nikhil, that you were available. Otherwise, I would have told you to jump in. Let me see what Nikhil's saying. Yeah, remember that Hetty, Holder, Russell are missing. Of course, yes. It's not our strongest team. Yeah, Rutherford, but boy, I don't know about Shafane. Boy, I need to try and reach out to Shafane and get him on the podcast. I don't know. Dino said something the other day on one of our lives. I don't know which one. And I look at someone like Shafane when Dino said this. Shafane must be, 25, 24 now, right? He's supposed to already be established. He's already supposed to be in the team. And we're still sitting here having conversations about certain players. And there's going to come a time for Shafane Rutherford where all of a sudden he'll be 27, 28, and he would never have established himself. And this is something that happens too often in West Indies cricket, where we can all see the talented players and they just don't establish themselves when they should have done. But, anyways, Dino, I went off on one there. What are you saying?
It's not going to be the easiest opportunity to establish yourself right now against Pakistan white ball team. That is going to be tough. They're going to be treated like kings in Pakistan because they want to get cricket back there. And full respect to them, want to have cricket teams back all over the world, right? But they're going to kill them with kindness in Pakistan, and they're going to come so hard on the field. It's a good challenge and test for our young guys. I hope they can go there prepared physically and mentally for this challenge and put their hand up. Like I say, it just looks like the selector said, look, just throw all the young guys in a pot. Whichever one ends up in T20 ODI, just pull it out and go in that direction. That's what it seems like. I feel there should have been more planning on which guys are your future T20 and which guys are your future ODI. It seems a bit confusing. Let me just say that. And it's clear to see. Marshall has planned it, has spelled it out. And if you even dig deeper into the stats, you're going to find that it's very obvious, right? And just in terms of that confusion, I just want to be clear on that because I know I repeated myself, but that's what stands out on this team. Most of these guys, if not all, deserve the chance at one point or the other. We again see that when missing guys are gone, when guys are missing, the main guys, for whatever reason, this is what you're left with, very tough decisions, right? And a lot of people clamor for a lot of other players, but these are the chances, top opposition, be prepared. hit the ground running, you have to do it. It's not a long series, right? And there might be some guys who just sit it out. Um, Nothing surprising with the guys. Maybe there are one or two guys. I would just say Carrie Pierre is a guy now that Moti is on the scene. Carrie Pierre seems to have disappeared. There's some young guys around, like I said, St. Clair, Ned, maybe Javier Royal, Bishop. That's the left arm Bishop, and there's guys around, who would be looking at this and say, well, maybe I should have been in consideration, right? But we need to get more guys getting chances and put their hands up for this, which is why it was mentioned about another T20 domestic only, no foreigners allowed league for T20. Now look, white ball, we're talking white ball cricket now, right? I am fully for just churn out white ball cricketers in the West Indies. I'm fully for that. I would say double the list day season and cut the 4-day season in half, and let's just churn out white ball cricketers. And let's just play the test required for the Test Championship, whatever that is. Let's just play that and play and only try to play England more than that. That's really radical thinking. But I'm just saying we have the talent, the natural talent in the West Indies. Look, these guys is an exciting team. I'm not going to lie to you. If these guys play to their potential, they could beat Pakistan. That's the truth, right? Are they ready for that though? That's the question. They probably don't have the experience and the guidance of a professional career, traveling all the time to show up at Pakistan and turn up 100% now at Christmas time, right? I don't know if that's an issue. I just said that, right? But that's what it is. Exciting young team. Will guys get dropped after this? It's a mix up. It's a mix and match for me. It's like Palau or Kalaloo or whatever you want to call it in the Caribbean. It's a little bit mixed up for me. I'm glad for the guys, but need to look. That's look. The selectors, come on, man. That's unacceptable. You cannot put Odie Smith in the 50 over squad without some justification. Say, look, we put him in here as a batting all rounder, but he really hasn't justified that in ODIs. And then, you have Alzari Joseph in the ODI squad, but not in the T20 squad. I would have loved to see Alzari in that T20 squad. So that's just one little thing. But if you really pick it apart, which we have done today, thanks to Marshall, has really been on the ball following this, the breakdown of this team. So I really appreciate that, Marshall. But yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, just some final things, people, I just wanted to throw out there. Dino gave a few names like Josh Bishop, St. Clair, etc. I want to throw in a few others as well. Naeem Young. I just wonder if Naeem Young, I'm not saying he should necessarily have been in this squad, but he's certainly one who, again, he's someone who's in that 20 to 22 bracket. I think he was part of that. Was he in the under-19 team with Seals? I can't even remember.
Yes.
But he's in that young bracket where I'm like, his talent is obvious. And again, I think we said in that last live, Dino, take some of these young talent. You don't even have to be in the squad. Just take them. Take them to just have the experience of being in and around an international squad so that when the inevitable call-up comes, it's not literally like taking the baby out of the baby out of the whatever I'm trying to say. I don't know what my analogy is, right? But you get what I mean? So I don't see why someone like a Naeem Young couldn't have been taken for the experience. Also, Tom Miller says he played against Naeem Young. Okay. Obviously, there should be some Bayesians in there who may want to also agree that Naeem Young should have gone. But here's a name that I would have taken, Dino. Some people laugh when I say this, but I would have taken Rakeem Cornwall in the T20 squad, right? And the reason why I would have taken Rakeem is because Rakeem doesn't waste time in opening in T20. It's either quick runs or out. And in modern day T20 with an opener, I prefer that. If anyone's laughing at me saying this, go and look at Rakeem Cornwall's strike rate. He opens obviously for the Zooks and the Stars, the Kings, or whatever they're called now. And when you watch, Rakeem is one of the best openers at maximizing his time at the crease. So if he only faces 4 balls, he's hitting 10 runs. If he's facing 15 balls, he's hitting 37 runs. He's not, and if he's out after 2 balls. He's not wasting time at the crease. I just wonder how deep our analytics goes at looking at things like that and going, Rakeem, he's a bit like Canal Lewis, maximizes the few times he actually comes off as opposed to just eating up dot balls. But anyways, that's thinking out the box a bit. And then a final point that I just wanted to raise, which came out of the press conference, which I think is also worth raising. Romario Shepherd. So somebody asked about Romario Shepherd and Roger Harper's response, which I actually thought was an interesting response, which I actually is one of the things he said where I thought, actually, this is a good point from Roger. And Roger said, but Romario Shepherd's not a newcomer. And I thought, good point, Roger. He was like, Romario's not a newcomer. He's back in the team. He's experienced at this level, but now we're looking for consistency. And I thought, yes, I can accept that. I can totally accept that. And the thing is this for me. When people call for players' names, don't be treating someone like Romario Shepherd as if he's some brand new kid who's just fresh on the block. This is his second or third go around. And one of the reasons why it's his second or third go around is because when you get to this level and you don't show consistency, you end up getting dropped. Now, who else is in Romario's? Probably like a Darren Bravo or something like that. We can't, and actually you could this point I'm making, you could echo to the test team. You can't just let players just play, and never face any consequences. So I actually hope with Romario coming back in that this third time round now, he's like, you see that I'm taking it I'm grabbing this opportunity. You lot can never drop me again. But if you don't show consistency, you can't just get a free pass at the team. Okay, so I just thought it was important to note that. But at the same time, the flip side to that is I don't want to see Dominic Drakes make the team and then suddenly he's dropped straight after this series. So the flip side to that is you have to give a man some room to develop, some room to grow. But Romario's not in that same category because technically Romario's experienced at the international, or should be experienced at the international level. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Dino.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. I'm with you on that Romario Shepherd point. I'm not with you on the Cornwall point because if you're building a team for the future, it doesn't make sense having the Narayan pinch hitter type role with the Cornwall. You know, that's what it reminds me of, like that Narayan role if you want to do that. And then Narayan's fielding has been so bad. It's just like having Cornwall on your team when it comes to Narayan's fielding, right? So it's just like a like for like if you want to put it that way. So if you're building a team for the future, let's just say, all right, you're building a team for this World Cup. Would you risk it? I like the thinking. You look for solutions, and you know it's a good idea. But you know now that the whole thing is, oh well, get rid of the old guys and bring the young guys in. That doesn't fit their narrative, right? It's not going to happen. That's way too outside the box now. It could come off, you know. In CPL, he could do it again, and he might be pushing to do that in other leagues. That's with in terms of Cornwall. I'm seeing guys saying, Mark Dial, what has Mark Dial done to merit a West Indies team? I know I saw the name Kimo Paul being mentioned, so I just wanted to mention that name of a name we don't hear about anymore. A guy who had a white ball contract. I believe Carrie Pierre had a white ball contract. I believe Sunil Ambrose had a white ball contract. That was from the last set of guys. So where are those guys? You know, so are we done with them completely? Because we see Cottrell is here as backup to, you know, it seems like backup to Obed. But you know, it's a lot of questions again. But again, not too bad going forward for this series. We'll see what happens. There was one more point I wanted to touch on, but I can't remember now because it was like 4 things just happened.
Yeah, I hear you. And I'm glad that Dino disagreed with me on Rakeem because it was important for you lot to understand that Dino and I and Santoki or when Nikhil's here or Ayana, whoever it might be, we're not actually here just to agree with each other, you know. If we feel there's a point to disagree with, we're going to say that we actually don't agree with that point. So there's never one uniformed line out of anybody who's on Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We literally just debate the issues and state our opinions. But people... That's as usual. It's gone longer than I thought it would go, but you know, once you start talking West Indies cricket, it goes quickly. But actually, I know what I should have said, which I haven't said. Oh, Dino,
wait. One thing I forgot. Dino, I remember now what the last thing was. Is that where is Jaden Seals? Someone had it in the comments. It just slipped me. Jaden Seals is not mentioned in any of these teams because he's going to be in Sri Lanka playing at Sri Lanka T20 League. So he is not. So is this how it works, guys? Is this the guy who, while he was tearing up the under-19, said, my dream is to play Test cricket for West Indies, is now probably not going to play in this Test and just stay on to play in the T20? I jokingly mentioned it during our Sri Lanka series talks, right? That, oh, don't worry about Seals. He's not going to get a game. He's going to be in the T20, right? That was a joke, you know. Seals is one for the future who said Test cricket. How many of our youngsters like someone mentioned the word journeyman. I like the word mercenaries. How many of them will ditch the game and go into the mercenary white ball mode? Is this the beginning of the end for Seals? Dun, dun, dun. Play horror music. All right. So
And and actually, because that might explain
I
where
have to
Russell is.
say, yeah.
No, you have to say it because someone
Yeah.
said earlier in the chat, "Where's Russell?" And obviously, Russell, it's the what Cricket West Indies said personal experience, personal circumstances. But I think Russell's played in Sri Lanka as well, so I don't know. Whatever. I'll look it up and see if that's actually the case. But but the thing that I just wanted to end the show on, because it was mentioned in the press conference, and it is something we should mention as well. Obviously, the West Indies women. The ICC tournament has been cancelled. They're currently stuck in Zimbabwe. Lots of countries have put lots of the African countries in now a red list fly zone. So just to clarify for those who are listening and for anybody who wanted to know, Jimmy did say that they are in round the clock communication with those that matter in the ICC and Courtney Walsh and all the comms team in Zimbabwe, and they're working round the clock to try and get the West Indies women home as soon as possible. And they're gonna have to find a way to do that because obviously, with countries being in a red list, we don't know how that's going to work. So prayers up for all that, etc. As we now hear about new variants and this, that, and the other. But if we hear any more, we will of course disseminate it through this medium as well. But I mean, it seems pretty irrelevant to say so, but it is still a thing. They did qualify because of how the tournament ended. They went with international rankings, so the West Indies women will now qualify by default to go to the World Cup next year, which I think is in March and April, or maybe it's May. I can't remember which month, but they will be there in the World Cup. But thank you as ever, everybody who was joined us live. If you press like, thank you. If you press subscribe, thank you. If you know there's somebody who needs to follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, remember, follow Dino. His is there at Crick Dino. Dino's got his own YouTube channel as well. He's just released. We retweeted it on our Twitter channel. He's just released a chat he's had with the Sri Lanka Cricket Podcast, I think it's called. So go check that out as well. And of course, on Monday, we just spent all this time talking about whiteboard. On Monday, the second test actually starts. So lock back in. 4:30 wake up, midnight for those of you in whichever part of the Caribbean, or 11:30 depending on where you are, or in the States, or whatever it might be, and we go again with the second test. And finally, before I forget, I spoke to the people at Matter Cricket West Indies. Solozano is still under concussion protocols. They said that they will release information more than likely tomorrow if he is cleared to actually play in the test. Now, this is my words. This isn't Cricket West Indies words. What I assume, though, is that if he's under concussion protocol, then surely he's not training. Surely he wouldn't be. And if he's not training, how realistic is it that he could then get cleared, today? Or maybe if he was cleared today or cleared tomorrow, how realistic is it to then ask a guy to quickly jump into the nets and then go and play 24 hours later? So I assume we ain't seen Solenzano in the second test. So the only question mark I would raise about that is, are they going to continue with Blackwood's opening with Craig, or are they going to force Shea Hope to have to open with Craig Brathwaite? So that'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds. But obviously myself, Dino, Santoki, maybe Nikhil will jump in. I don't know what, I'll have to see what Nikhil's schedule's saying, Ayana, etc. We'll be back at some point in the second test to review what's going on. Points are at stake. Hopefully we can draw. No, I didn't say win. Hopefully we can draw the second test. Last words, Dino.
Yeah, man. We did a lot today in terms of both of the teams, the ODI and the T20. Always a pleasure to be here. So all the fans in. It's always about the fans. That's why we're here. The comments keep coming in, and it influences the show. What you guys say in the comments. Marsh probably didn't give enough today. He probably didn't highlight enough today like he usually does, but it does influence the show. I've been reading it. The last couple of shows, I've been reading it right through. And that's how we had the Seals point and a couple of things that may go under the radar. So keep it coming, guys. You guys are this show. Just remember that. And we might not be here all the time, but the fans will always be there. So appreciate that. Appreciate Marsh and everyone at the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, man. Bless up.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So people will catch you soon. You know how we end now. We got that video. So we'll catch you soon for the second test. Peace.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.